All right, family. We live with the general. You already know what time it is. Let me get on the mic. The mic sound nice. We in the house. Yeah, let me make sure everything is nice. Mic sound nice. Okay. We're talking about today, are the Arab countries turning their back on Donald Trump? Are they abandoning the US? Are they sick and tired of Iran bombing the shit out of them without the United States being able to do a damn thing to protect them? This is what it's turning out to be. Yeah, this is what it's turning out to be, that the United States can't even defend its allies or its supposed allies. Its supposed allies. I guess they got a few over there. Because, they ain't friends with Iran because Iran see most of them Arab countries over there as puppets, you know, puppets of the United States. And so they seeking their demise too. But, I guess, they Muslims, number one. At the minimum, they Muslims. And so they do have something in common. Not much, not much, but they see something in common because when you think about, I was looking at this one documentary on Islam, right? And they were showing how the different branches of Islam been worn since day one. So they can't blame it on nobody. This shit been going on. This shit been going on 1,000 years already. A matter of fact, I got the let me get my background together. Yeah, it's been going on already 1,000 some damn years between them damn Arabs and them damn Iranians. They been fighting for the last goddamn let me see where we got. I don't even think I got it in here. Matter of fact, where is it? Okay, I don't even got it in here. Did I bring it out? Yeah, there it is right there. There it is right there. Yeah, they been bombing all them damn nations over there, and they ain't been able to protect them and shit. I'm surprised they ain't knocked the Burj Khalifa down. I'm surprised they ain't went for something like the Burj Khalifa and knocked that on down to the ground. You know, and they don't care. They bomb in Saudi Arabia. You know, they bomb in Saudi Arabia, which supposedly is the holy land for Muslims. There's supposedly the whole, but we looking at that. They just bombed Egypt. You're looking at the Iranians just bombed Egypt. And so right now they hadn't even, and they'll bomb anybody. They're just letting you know they'll bomb anybody right now. And what they want to do, they want these nations to distance themselves from the United States. But see, the thing is, Iran is such a big bully. See, when you give in like that, then they're gonna keep playing that card. They're gonna keep playing that card no matter what. So a lot of them understand that even if the United States wasn't over there, they still would have it out for their ass. Because Iran believe, they're being Shia, that they are the rightful rulers of Islam. They believe that. That's what they believe. Ever since the great rift between the Sunni and the Shiite Muslims. And the Shiite Muslims believe that, the bloodline of Muhammad through his cousin and son-in-law Ali, who was married to his daughter Fatima, Fatima or Fatima, that the bloodline should go through them. And so, but in the Sunni Muslims, which is the majority, which is about 85% of all the world's Muslims, they believe that, you know, the most intelligent, leader should be the ruler, not just because you the blood of Muhammad, because the blood of Muhammad could be a dumb motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Just because you the blood don't mean nothing. So they believe that the most intelligent and the most wise and the most, individual of Islam should be the leader, the caliph. And I watched that documentary, and you talking about something like every damn for the first 20 or 30 damn caliphs was assassinated. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I mean, they was knocking off every. So that just show you right there. When you get to the root of Islam, they have a problem, serious is savage, where they knock off their own leaders, and so to see the supreme leader of Iran get knocked off, is in alignment with all the other damn leaders in Islam. They've been getting knocked off since day one, and it's crazy. The first three or these supposed to been, they call them the righteous, the righteous caliphs, and every one of the righteous caliphs got knocked off, from Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. I think them was the four righteous. They all righteous, but they all got knocked off. All got knocked off. Every last one of them. It's not a caliph that I seen that sat on the throne for no great length of time, without being knocked off. And I think until they got maybe up into the Ottoman Turks, where where they got up into the Ottoman Turks, then maybe they, because they had more military, more structure then, but, and I won't even say that. I won't even say that's why, you know. But I believe under the Ottoman Turks that they got some, they got a little extra length of time, to sit on the throne of Caliph, But before that, all and so it show you that they've been fighting a long time, and they are willing to knock off their own leaders, and have been knocking off their own leaders since the beginning of Islam and before Islam. Okay, before Islam, but Iran, yeah, they say they. You say they're going. They said they was going to win, and yeah, strategically right now they are winning because Donald Trump has not. He's a weak leader. And I gave specific thing. That I thought would have to happen for them to do that. They're winning because Donald Trump was not being a military man. He's not a military man. And if it had been anybody other than Donald Trump, then because if it had been Bush, they would have went in there on their ass. You see, Bush would have went in there on their ass, and they still not, and that's still not a victory because motherfuckers over there starving like a motherfucker. You could believe that. The victory is the victory is only in the fact that the regime is still in power, but it's a lot of hungry bellies over there. You feel what I'm saying? It's still a whole lot of hungry bellies over there. Okay, and they can't get no. Yeah, yes they is. Yes they is. They hungry. They ass can't afford that inflation is through the goddamn roof. Yes it is. Yes it is. Yes it is. And they can't get no oil out of there. That's a fact. They ain't getting no oil up out of there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the news always gonna be over there. The news gonna be everywhere. Shit, the smoke, wherever the smoke and bombs is, that's where the news. Yeah, well, they could be using. You're not gonna make me believe that they over there and everything is good. You just not make me believe that. I'm sorry to tell you that. Yeah, you know, you ain't gonna make me believe. I tell you what, if you believe that, then change sides. You know what I'm saying? Change sides. Go on over there and improve it. Get you an Airbnb and go on over there and prove it to us. Go live and goddamn it, and yeah. I know it is. Yeah, they, and they goddamn inflation is through the goddamn roof. So it's just fucked up for a whole lot of people. It's fucked up for a whole lot of people, and so so the whole world economy is in disarray right now. But the Arabs over there, they most definitely, and it's a fact what we seeing. They are not able to defend them. Want to be? They say they allies. I don't see how that's your ally, and they over there bombing the shit out of them, and ain't nothing you could do about it. They done bombed all your bases and shit, and this, that, and the third. And so this is not, he's weak. Donald Trump is weak. I will say that without a doubt. He's very weak. He's not a military man. And, like I said, I already knew. I never underestimated Iran. I knew that they would have to put boots on the ground. If you do not put boots on the ground, you have no option to win. That's just what it is. Because, I know I've been, I studied Iran for a long time. I know that, in order to get in there, they didn't went in them caves, they didn't went in the mountains, they didn't went in there. I knew that. I knew that. And if you ain't going in there to get them, then they gonna hide in there. Now, just bombing that, I mean, they couldn't do that in Afghanistan, very similar to Iran with the mountains. And when Bin Laden and them went over there and they fled in the mountains and shit, they knew they had to go over there and get them out of there. But Donald Trump thinking he gonna just go over there and just drop bombs on them people. Them people don't give a fuck about that. Yeah, to say the drones, well, it very well may be. It very well may be it's a different day and age. Well, they didn't got to the pole man. They got a pole man F-16, which is the drone, and it is doing a lot of fucking damage. And they ain't been able. The Ukrainians said they had they had something for it, and they denied, that they didn't want to use that. I don't know why. Zelensky say he been knocking them motherfuckers out of the sky with what? Oh yeah, you got to go in. And I've been said that. I've been said that. And the fact that they use all them bombs, and they didn't. What did they get out of it? They still firing off. And so I said, I've been said that they was gonna have to put boots on the ground. That was it. And if they not willing to put boots on the ground and go in there and get them, they not gonna win because they dug in. And you're gonna have to go in there and get them, just like they did when they went into fucking Iraq. They're gonna have to, but Iraq is more flat. It's more flat than Iran. Iran is more mountainous. You know what I'm saying? So when they go in there, they're gonna have to fight like they fought when they was in Afghanistan. They're gonna have to go in the motherfucking mountains, and they don't want to do it. So he shouldn't have never took his ass over there. If he had no intentions of going in there and getting them, he shouldn't have never took his ass over there. And really, when he knocked off when you knocked off all the leaders, you should have been prepared to go in there then. You should have been prepared to go in there then, because you really was at the point of no return when you knocked off the leaders. You was at the point of no return. They was gonna want revenge. They was gonna want nothing but revenge, and he know that. So they gonna hold that Strait of Hormuz. It don't take much, but guerrilla warfare, for somebody to just shoot a shoulder rocket off and hit one of them tankers, and so you're gonna have to go in there, and you don't know how many of them feel and think like the regime. And so you got 100 million people over there. So it's only two things that you could do. It's only two things that you could do. you're going to have to drop heavier bombs than that shit you dropping, which would cause you to go against international law. Vladimir Putin don't give a fuck about no. He didn't bomb Ukraine into the goddamn Stone Ages, and then you looking at Netanyahu, and he didn't bomb, but yet and still they still there. They still being backed up. So you can bomb all day. You still got to go in there. You still got to go in there, and without him doing that, he gonna try to starve them out. And it is back roads to Iran, where they done dug shit for thousands of fucking years, man. That they done already, dug up under them mountains. They probably can go into them mountains and come out on, two countries over. Who knows? And I believe that you probably can go, yeah, yeah. They real soft today. The soldier, they ain't been in no war. They ain't been in no war. So yeah, these are soft bellies. You know what I'm saying? They soft belly soldiers, and so yeah, they got too many of them cupcakes in the military. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't like it used to be. And then again, head self, he's garbage. He's garbage. They should get rid of him. It is what nobody's seen a president like Donald Trump like ever. You know, like ever. Who the fuck? And I this don't mean there's no. I'm not saying it like the other ones was good, but he's not a military man, and so that's why putting head self in there, who was a major, and then what general gonna respect a major? You know what I'm saying? So he didn't even put a general as the Secretary of Defense. This motherfucker went and got a major, and then he went in there find all the top generals and admirals and shit. And then the soldiers in there that's really that might be worth some. They looking at it like this motherfucker find all the top generals and admirals and shit. And then you putting these soft, and not only is the soldiers soft, a lot of them damn generals in there is yes men. They ain't gonna say nothing that Donald Trump and don't want to hear. And so, you got a bunch of yes men in there. So, that was fucked up. Well, he should not have did that. And he should not have got rid of all them damn soldiers like that. Yeah. Yeah. But so, I mean, I understand what's happening. Yes, they is. At this point, they are losing. Even, they're losing. You know, the initiative is lost. The initiative is lost. And at this point, either you gonna throw it in reverse and come out of it, but you got to come out and see, like I said, you done already went past the point of no return. When you knock they down fucking leaders off, now they gonna stick it to your ass because they gonna take control of the fucking strait, and they want reparations for the damages that you didn't create it over there. And so either you gonna back out, take the L, back out, take the L, or you gonna escalate it. But if you escalate it, you still gonna have to go in there, regardless. So why, so you see the thing is, before you went in there bombing and not, you should have knew that. And then you should have knew damn well that your motherfucking inventory was low. Yeah, he should have known that the inventory was low. What the fuck? You gonna go and you gonna drop 14, 15,000 bombs, man. Motherfuckers supposed to tap. You know what I'm saying? They supposed to tap. That ain't no Colin Powell, nigga. I rock shit. Colin Powell said go heavy to a motherfucker tap. You know what I'm saying? Just go heavy. Not just go drop bomb. Go heavy. Go. The target should have been. You just gonna have to. You fucking. If you gonna do that, you might. You at this point, you saying fuck international law because you already committed You didn't already assassinated leaders, man. That ain't international. That wasn't in accordance with international law. You didn't assassinated the leaders. That's not so. I mean, what you waiting on, motherfucker? You might as well take the gloves all the way off if you gonna do that. Ain't no sense of knocking off the leaders and then you worried about whether a motherfucker gonna charge you with an internet because you bomb bridges and shit, motherfucker. It's time to blow the motherfucker up. Nah, it's time to blow it up. It's time to make a motherfucker tap. They not tapping. And see, the thing is, I knew when he said that they was gonna bomb them motherfucking nuclear sites and shit like that. Let me see. It look like yeah. When they said that they was gonna bomb them nuclear sites and they sent them peoples out there to surround. See, I knew then. I said that's gonna hurt them. You know, that's gonna hurt them. So you know they wanted to protect that. You know that was gonna hurt them. So you know they want. So that was like look. You know that's what the shit they want to protect. But is you gonna go to blowing up goddamn nuclear reactors and shit and all of that? That's crazy. You know, that's fucking crazy. You want a goddamn you know, but that's what you gonna have to do. You know, and once and then when you creating a crazy, while you blowing them motherfuckers, you supposed to be in there now. You know what I'm saying? Shit. You probably, and the one thing about them goddamn, you in there then. You in there then. You once you boom and motherfuckers say, oh shit, and everybody in disarray, that's when you go in there, man. And even if it's not, a major where you dropping, you going in, where the motherfuckers at you want. You going in there because when they went into our Iraq, they went in there looking for the leadership first and foremost. Where these motherfuckers at? Where's Saddam Hussein? That's the first thing they went in there to do is get that leadership, and everybody associated with Saddam Hussein. Where them motherfuckers at? And they was pointing them motherfuckers out too, because the thing is they thinking that that these people these people not gonna uprise. They ain't got enough heat. But once the United States went in there into Iraq, the motherfuckers that seen that they could get they could get some protection and shit. Then they went to telling on them like, okay, y'all got some boots on the ground. We got some guns and shit. Yeah, okay then. Well, his ass over there, they start telling where motherfuckers is at. But if you ain't got no boots on the ground, you ain't got no guns and protection for the people, they ain't about to do a motherfucking thing. They're going to sit their ass down. They're going to be quiet. That's what the fuck they going to do. Because if they was going to uprise, they would have been uprise. They would have, you know what I'm saying? They not going to uprise. Them motherfuckers going to stay quiet and they going to do what they going to do. You see, that's just the reality of it. And so now that I see that he's not going to do that, yes, indeed, he's lost the initiative. He's lost the initiative. And he's in bigger trouble, because if China want to act a goddamn fool right now, his ass is in bigger trouble. The dominoes gonna get to falling like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? They gonna get to falling like a motherfucker because if he ain't got enough bombs and he got to pause on, and that don't mean that they ain't got nothing over there. They could have something over there. But, what they done dropped on Iran probably was the backup for the shit over there. So if he get to dropping and they behind on shit. They behind on shit. So, I don't know what the fuck, I don't even know what the blueprint is for China because they're going to have to go heavy on them motherfuckers. They're going to have to go heavy on them motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. They're gonna have to hit China like, they ain't gonna be able to drop the shit that they dropped on Iran. They're gonna have to go heavy on China from day one. You know what I'm saying? So whatever the heaviest shit that they got, that's what the fuck they're gonna have to use on them. Cause this is like a preliminary fight for everybody. China is watching. seeing how they respond to certain shit, you know, and they watching, and they probably giving Iran some game too. Yeah, fight them because they want to see if the shit gonna work. Yeah, do this, that, and the third, and you know, and because they gonna do that same shit over there in the South China Sea. You know, they're gonna do the same shit. So they want to see if it's works. So this is a preliminary war, and Donald Trump is looking bad, man. He's looking bad. Head chef, all of them motherfuckers is sad. They sad. You know, sad. You know, went over there thinking you gonna just do some shit like that, and you done got punked by some motherfuckers that you can't even the damn leader over there. He ain't shown his face in so long, but I think they showed a video, you know, that, and they don't know if it's a recent video or not, but they trying to say that was him and that he's okay. And so but anyway, family, I know family saying, Seti, you know, we told you, and you know what? Understandably, it would, what I said was based on you know, some of the things that I thought that, you know, they would have to do. And if they did not do that, they was not gonna win. And they didn't do it. And they not gonna win. You know, and they're gonna have to back. And if they not gonna do it, you know, they might as well back on up out of that motherfucker and take the L. And if they had to take the L, then what's gonna happen with China? And so you didn't put yourself in a fucking predicament that you didn't have to put yourself in. Now you look weak all the way around. But anyway, family, anyway, I'll be black a little later, man. I appreciate y'all coming out here. Get over to Patreon. I got some fire. We're going live. You see the general back up, and I got the lectures up, man, and it's gonna be powerful this evening. So make sure y'all tap in. Yeah, they refuse to take it, but they're gonna have to either they're gonna step up or they're gonna have to take the L. Either they're gonna step up or they're gonna take the L. They're gonna embarrass themselves up out of there. Anyway, the Arabs is like, fuck that, man. You can't protect us over there. So we ain't, man, just chill. Don't bomb them. They don't even want to bomb them no more because they can't protect them over there. But anyway, family, we'll be black. See y'all in a minute. Black Power.